Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the latest episode of Supernatural Unity. And this episode had a lot of problems. Now, granted, it's the fourth episode, so I expected, hopefully, that we would get something going along with the whole story arc. Granted, it is this episode, and because it is so late in the season, they decided to stuff as much as possible as they could. And they did it in very weird ways. We would first follow one set of characters after, like, we had already seen, like, one of the characters' names that we were supposedly focusing on to get through their whole thing, and then bop to another. Now, this structure just did not work for me because you're trying to figure out timeline wise how this all happens, who's calling who, and what information is getting relayed to other people, and in what timely manner. And there's just too much going on, and the lower breaks start popping up, and we get another reset of what is going on. And it just. I had two competing expectations. I hope that things improve and things happen. But I'm always expecting the worst, and it just always goes, you should expect the worst because they just fuck with it again. So, the cold open, which is just kind of stupid, we see Amara sitting in like a hot tub, heated bath thing in Iceland, and then looks up and we see like shooting stars kind of stuff, and that signals that Chuck is back. And it just really didn't add anything. Sure, I'm glad that we got the information that Chuck is back, but it just would have worked better if it added anything. You could have just been like Chuck walking around or something like that, and that would have been better, but we get a lot of nothing in this scene. We don't really get anything from Amara. We don't get anything with the dude she interacts with. She just is sitting in a hot tub kind of thing, looks up in the sky. Oh, Chuck's back. Oh, okay, so now it's go time. So, let's start in the kind of order that we go in. So, we see Amara's stuff first, and she's evidently sitting in a park bench. Pretty much has God come back. Like, hey, you want to gotta help me out doing this stuff? And she, of course, is trying to show him he shouldn't do this. That she's trying to bring him to a place of try and figure out some kind of balance. Do we know what that kind of balance is? No. We never really get her side of what this balance would entail of creation and destruction. Because it's really kind of strange because the darkness is supposed to be this overwhelming destructive force. The only one that we've seen really destroying a lot of stuff has been Chuck. So it kind of even throws that kind of shit into kind of weird ass hula hop, huh? Like, what? Okay. But he's just being himself, like, she's like, just walk with me, talking about his creation and stuff like that, and like, oh yeah, the first tree, a fern and everything. I was really into these kind of shapes and everything. And she's trying to get him to look into the positives of the creation and everything. He gets to humans and he's like, they're messy, they're boring, they're so kind of stupid, and I don't want to deal with them. And then, of course, she takes him to heaven to show him the first things he created, the angels, and how they unabashedly love him, and he even still doesn't like the unabashed love. There's no pleasing him. We don't get a scenario where he has any kind of really positive interaction with, like, other kind of beings that he creates. Mainly we saw that everything was good with, like, the fern and everything. It was like, okay, cool, he likes that kind of stuff. But whenever other people are involved, if they are pretty much predisposed to loving him, like the angels and everything, they're annoying fan lords that he fucking snaps back out of because he doesn't really give a shit for it. He just wants to wipe everything and it just be him and her. And of course she snaps them to the bunker. He's like, you're not working, it's not going to work. He tries to snap and he's stuck there. How is he stuck there? Fuck if I know, because the episode doesn't elaborate on that. Because evidently Amara is able to kind of stick him in this bunker basement for long enough for this episode to do some of its own kind of shit. And it's like, okay, whatever. Cool. We had also gotten a scene where we pretty much got that Dean's like, yeah, I got a call from Billy. I got to take Jack to some place to meet up with some dude to do some more things from Billy. Sam's like, yeah, I'm not going with you. And he's like, fine, whatever. I'm going to be the grown-up. I'm like, you've not acted like any kind of grown-up that I've ever seen throughout this entire season arc. What the fuck? And that's not to say that Dean cannot act like the grown-up in a situation. Usually he falls into the Han Solo kind of type where he will do weird fucking shit to hope that it works out. And that's not a bad thing. But his lines fall flat when he is essentially like still shown to be pissed off at Jack for killing his mom. When he knows the context of the situation, knows all the information that came out of it, and everything that Jack has gone through to make amends for this, culminating in him deciding to become a bomb to blow up God and Amara. But evidently that's okay now here, whereas in the last couple episodes we really needed it for the spicy drama that we've seen before in the same kind of vein with other things. Fuck, that was also the kind of thing with Season 8. Though granted, Sam wasn't a bomb, but what he would do would have killed him anyway. It's all the fucking same. Alright, but he goes to do that while Sam and Cass sit back in the bunker to try and figure out some other way to save Jack. That I'm going to get to later. Because yes, that comes in and then fucks up everything in the end. So we see Dean and Jack and they pretty much drive. We get some interactions with them that don't really change much until the back end, but they get to who they're going for. So like, Billy called us here. It's like, oh yeah, this is just my friend's shop, and we find out that it's Adam, the first man, and he's pretty much getting all kind of like googly oogly with this person. Here's where I got pissed off first. Now granted, I was getting knucked up with like what was going on with Amar and Chuck, but even though that was kind of screwbally, it was something that needed to occur vastly back, and I'm glad we kind of got them talking about their whole shtick of light and dark, creation and destruction. Here, we see like, oh, yeah, this is Adam. Oh, is that Eve? No, this is Seraphina and Angel. Now, I need to get into the context of why I get pissed off with this line with Dean. He fucking fought Eve, who, by the way, within this realm's lore, Eve took on the role of Lilith because they had already killed Lilith during the whole original apocalypse with Lucifer that fucking got him out of the cage because, God, that whole seal thing. Because normally Lilith was Adam's first wife and in like that kind of lore, and then became the mother of monsters and everything when she got pretty much shellacked and everything because Adam couldn't control her and everything. So God's like, all right, boot that, give me a rib, here's another one. Huh! And that's, granted, a very vast oversimplification, but that doesn't even work with this. Instead, we've got Lilith, Demon, Eve, Mother of Monsters. What? And Dean just conveniently forgetting that he fucking fought her in like season 6 because Cass needed to get to purgatory for the fucking souls and shit and the alphas and goddamn, fuck me, man. Now granted, part of it's a component of Dean forgetting, and most of it is the writers fucking didn't do their jobs and like, hey, that was actually a big bad that we fucking fought like 9 years ago, but that's not my job to know. How do you not fact check this? Because literally all this whole shit that they did with Adam, which by the trailer for what was going to be happening in this episode I thought would have been a bigger thing, his role essentially boils down to giving Jack a pop quiz, a really shitty pop quiz, and then giving him a rib. Like, that's it. He's like, oh yeah, he's going to take him back and give him the pop quiz. You evidently learned that this has been... Adam's evidently been working on this plot against God for like over 300,000 years, and his angel fuck buddy has been keeping him alive for that long to actually do that. And evidently Billy's amiable to this plan, and it's like, alright. And he's like, oh, okay, pick which rock was touched by God, the divine thing. Of course, it's a trick one where he's like, this one and all of them, because they were all created by God. He's like, alright, cool. And then he goes out, and then he starts, like, smooching on the angel chick, and she fucking, like, stabs him and pulls out his ribs. Like, yeah, this is a really potent kind of thing, like, creates life and shit. So, before you, like, consume this thing that they put in a bag, he's like, it'll make you into, like, a black hole that'll fucking absorb divine energy. Arrivederci, motherfucker. And, whew. It's just like, okay. And then they're driving back, and Dean pulls over the side. He's like, yeah, keep that for endgame time. He's like, listen, thank you for what you're doing, because they don't have a choice in this matter. And it's really kind of strange that we have Dean taking this track. It's really... It could work in theory. But what we essentially have is that Dean has been one of the biggest proponents of, like, the team free will thing. And he just keeps going along with this thing of like, we don't have any choice, we have to do this, and this. And it's like, you're not questioning anything, you're not doing anything. And now granted, Dean never questioned his dad really that much on what was going on. He would be the dutiful soldier, and he would follow orders. But I thought he had kind of grown out of that, and especially going with the whole team free will and everything dealing with, like, the Lucifer apocalypse and every other subsequent one. He would be like, there's always got to be a different way. Granted, most of the time his family and Cass had been involved, and he pretty much called Jack not family. But he still is thanking him for what he is doing. And it's just, okay. You're going to basically take out two fundamental cosmic forces. I know, I understand that you and your brother want to be free from this megalomaniac fanfic fuck. Alright, but nobody's questioning the balancing act of the universe or anything along that matter of being like, hey, shouldn't there be some kind of weird-ass checks and balances in place with these kind of things? It's like, okay, fuck off, whatever. And just trying to find any other way to do these kind of things, and like, your whole thing was like, the family business, hunting things, saving people. You're not saving this dude. You're not helping this dude to find a better way. He's like a Titanic-level cosmic entity dude of, like, archangel and human. And he could be really fucking cool, and you're just being like, yeah, let's turn him into a bomb! That should work out! I'm like... But they get the call that it's go time. I think it's from Billy, but that really wasn't clear. And then Jack, without being in the bunker anywhere near it, consumes the rib, and I'm like, alright, how's this gonna work? Is he gonna fucking eat it? But he just, like, absorbs the power. He's like, yeah, I'm ready. And then we flip over to Sam's bit. Him and Cash are trying to find things. He's like, listen, I get it. This is hopelessness, but we gotta keep doing it because that's what they usually do. They are hopeless. They find some kind of way. They deal with it. Another thing that pisses me off, he pretty much be like, hey, Sergey, wasn't he looking for, like, the key to death's door or whatnot? Great assful here, Fred. Let's try and find that key that we really didn't do anything with, because we need a fucking MacGuffin right now. And they literally go into the item room and search around and find it. And they find a thing that looks kind of like the Holy Grail, evidently. Not much was called to it, but I'm like, some prop guy was doing something with that. And he's like, yeah, let me go, like, talk to Billy or whatnot, or see something, because nothing's passing the smell test. Really? Why is that figuring out? So, he goes, he uses the thing, and he's like, Cass is like, I should come with you. And he's like, how about no, because somebody's got to be here to stop Dean and Jack. I'm like, alright, fuck, whatever. Use whatever the plot demands to continue this thing. He goes in, and we see a lot of dead people in Death's library with a fucking W, probably about the Winchesters or whatnot, but we see him down. We see that the empty is the form of Meg because they need somebody to fucking embody the person. No beef with her. More kind of Meg-ish than empty-ish here, but I really am almost past the point of caring. I'm like, alright, this is your standard now. I would be more surprised if you deviated to good instead of going down. But she pretty much wants to talk to Billy and has been torturing these Reapers to do it and pretty much killing them. It's like, what's going on? Catches the look at Sam. Sam tried to bug out, but it's like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, I want to talk to Billy because Billy's doing some stupid shit and is not really adhering to what is going on here. And she starts pretty much getting ready to try and kill Sam to try and lure Billy out. But he's like, hey, Billy sent me because I need this book and everything. And we evidently find out that Billy's whole stick, because, spoiler alert, we need a fucking plot twist in this 4 episodes from the end kind of thing. Billy is trying to become the new god. Oh, shock! Oh, horror! Lightning crackles! Everything is shaking! I'm like, oh god. We got another person. She wants to take out Chuck and Amara and become the new god. Make everything follow the rules. Everybody in their place. Everybody dead who's dead. I'm like, oh, okay. But you can really not really balance anything because you're more the death. You're at a certain end of the spectrum in what you're doing thing. It's like, whatever. But evidently only Billy can read that and Chuck can't. And that introduces a whole other problem. If God is God, God is omnipotent and omnipresent. So they are all-powerful and all-seeing. If there's something that God cannot see, then that would go that they aren't God. Okay? If God would know their own... If Chuck as God would know that he dies, and he's got a book by death, it just fucking... And he can't read it. Fuck my nuts. This is why usually when you have to be careful in building your world. If death is an entity on the same level as God, there has to be certain rules in place that actually make it make sense. Otherwise, God can't do anything or death can't do anything. Death either has to be within the framework that God has created and can't really affect God. Ergo, God is neither omnipotent or omnipresent, omniscient. You know what I mean? Yeah, omnipresent is like everywhere. Fuck, man. It just gets all nutty. That really fucks up with what's going on. Having them kind of tangle and weave around because you change up lore to whatever the plot demands, to whenever the plot demands it, makes these inconsistencies. So, Sam's like, yeah, I'm gonna take this book, just trust my ass, because if you're right... I'm like, here's the thing, I go do this, you either trust me, and you're able to sleep again, or you're not trust me, and you're never able to sleep again. I don't give a shit. And I'm like, whatever, go, man. He's like, there's Cascades. Oh, shit, fuck. Billy's trying to fuck us. Shit. Alright, we should probably stop this shit that's going on. And then, of course, we get this whole thing of this dueling thing. Dean comes in. Jack is like, I'm kind of feeling shitty because I consumed some weird shit and I'm going to blow up. And Sam is like, hey, dude, I kind of got this information. And while this is going on, Chuck is pretty much going to Amara, they're betraying you, without showing any proof or anything of what's going on, because Amara has pretty much been on the same kind of level as Chuck. If Amara is the same kind of half as Chuck, she should be able to see everything and know everything. Alright? And she should know that Sam and Dean are fighting each other, because evidently she's like, oh yeah, the human's gonna fuck me, and then fucking Chuck is able to fucking hoover her up and become essentially one being with the powers of both. And it's like, okay, because she has lost faith in humanity because, oh yeah, Dean's gonna, has betrayed you and everything like that. And I'm like, well, he's in the process of betraying you and is actively being dissuaded to do that. So, got nothing, bitch? But he's like, yeah, I couldn't can't see my book, but I can do all these other things around it, do all these kind of events to pretty much essentially avoid it. So I'm like, you've essentially made the death book irrelevant because you might not know exactly what it is, but you can pretty much influence events around it to make sure any pieces that are involved in it would never come near you. But we get the emotional scenes of being like Dean pretty much pulling his gun on Sam and pretty much threatening to shoot him, and instead of shooting him, punching him and everything, and Sam pretty much being like, listen, understand, I've hated that you've had to protect me your whole life and everything. They're all crying and everything, and I wanted to feel more emotion in those scenes, but I felt like it wasn't the exact right emotion that needed to be done for both of them to be crying at. I felt more that it was like the show is ending and almost like a thing with that more than these characters doing this thing. Or they've done it so many times that I am now numb to the writers continuing to do it because this fucking thing the same fucking way so many fucking times. It's just we keep going through these cycles and circles and they change very little. There's no movement that really gets to them to actually really have character growth and change and like some kind of ending. And it's just annoying. And Sam is able to pretty much get him to put his gun away and everything. And then of course this is where they kind of catch up with everything. So after Chuck has now sucked in Amara, he then blows out a door, and it's like, you really did it again! You really fucked it up again! He's like, yeah, alright, this new ending kind of shit, now you get to watch Jack die. It's like, what? Are we resetting this fucking thing again? I'm like, we fucking saw this ending in the season 14 finale! Not the exact same thing, but it's like Jack pretty much dying. Sam and Dean at odds with what to do. God brought up with this whole thing, and it's like, oh my god, this is fucking. We went back to season 14. We restarted again. What? Oh my god! And then that's where it ends. As we see Jack's eyes getting ready to pretty much blast out, and we see the preview that they have to deal with fucking Billy going Hambo, Rambo, Jambo, of pretty much annihilating a lot of people, like the alternate universe people, and I'm just like, why the fuck's she doing that? I mean, there's barely like a handful left. They were pretty much fucking destroyed by Apocalypse Universe Michael. I understand that they're trying to pretty much be like, Dean is trapped in this, like, okay, I have to follow my duty and do my soldierly duty and blow up these cosmic entities so me and my brother can be free. But he doesn't really get to that point, or at least we're not shown that he understands the point that he is actively going against his usual mantra of team free will. Cass is pretty much just left to fucking hold Jack while things are going nutso. Sam, of course, is the appeal to reason with everything going on. Listen, we didn't question the things of what Billy's aims were, of what would happen if these two power entities were gone, and what that power vacuum would be, and who would have to take those places. Ironically enough, I would think that would go back into this whole kind of Guardian thing, which would even kind of still fuck up Dean's aim of having him and his brother be free, because you're then just still perpetuating the cycle. But granted, you could do different things and perhaps nudge different things in different ways to do them. Now, I know it is not exactly like what the season 14 finale was, and that God was pretty much egging them on to kill Jack and all that kind of stuff, while Sam's like, eat me. And they're like, no, we're not doing it. So he then boots them, Sam shoots him, and here we go again. But it has the same kind of things of like, God's plan didn't go right. He decides to pretty much put Jack in a kill situation and have the brothers try and kill each other again. And I'm just like, what I brought up. We keep going through these same weird ass circles, and not enough is really changing, and we're not really getting shown why we need to be seen at this way and what it's supposed to be saying about these characters that we either have already seen before and they should have learned or done something about it, or like anything kind of new. It's like we now have 3 episodes left before this series finishes. And granted, I've liked the actors and their characters, but these last 10 years have really not been culminated very well in this last season. Granted, I understand shit's going on, and it's fucked up things going on this way. This is not due to that. Alright? This was on this train long before it derailed in some hell dimension, and we're fucking going through. But at this point, I'd even fucking take Crowley coming back out of some penguin's asshole, and then Rowena being like, "What's up, bitches?" and fucking doing some other kind of weird thing to just do something to get out of this fucking hell dimension. Because I don't feel like this is celebrating the characters or what this show has accomplished, because it created a lot of interesting things with looking at different kind of mythological creatures and beings and all that, and just seeing an interesting fandom come up and theorize and everything, and then just seeing what it has devolved into these past 10 years, because I keep my last save point of season 5. I'm like, yeah, alright, cool. There were issues in the first 5 seasons. I will not deny that. But on what we've seen of the just strange destruction of what these writers are able to accomplish, and what the showrunners are able to do with them, and the execs being like, that should be a good idea, or anybody that would have any kind of power to be like, I don't think this is gonna work. And it just, God. I don't feel like this is celebrating or bringing the story to any kind of meaningful conclusion at all. This is just a crazy scramble to finish this. And it's just, I thought that they would be able to somehow be like, okay, this is our story arc for the season, and then continue on and get it through. And it's so sporadic and screwball-y that I don't think I've ever seen a final season quite like this. Now, granted, I did review the final season of Game of Thrones. That's a whole other beast with a whole other different sets of issues. That is its own kind of set of bad that I can kind of compare this to, but this is doing things that didn't do. Granted, their level of badness is close enough for me to be like, I used to look forward to watching this show. I have dreaded this, not because it is ending, but to what new levels of low will it drop to? And what new crazy stupid thing it will do to the lore or the characters, and where that will leave them at their end. 3 episodes left. I'm now wondering if we're going to get like random reboots and restarts in episodes and then have them shift to other things, because I'm like, okay. And we'll have to, and that's the thing. It'd be interesting to see Death going completely crazy and trying to fix what's going on with the brothers, because that would have been very irksome. But that is a story that should have been done long before and given better due and better characters involved than what we're going to be getting here. It's just, see how this ends, man. See how this ends. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.